Now, when Cristiano Ronaldo was stepping up to take his free kick last night against Spain in the 86th minute, everyone around the world watching thought, well, could he actually go on and do it? Could he actually get a hat-trick in his first game of the 2018 World Cup? Cristiano put the ball in the back of the net, celebrated, looked around, looked into the cameras and said, almost as if to say, was there any doubt? Was there any doubt? It's something I keep asking myself, because by now, having watched Cristiano over and over and over again, he just delivers on the biggest stage all the time. Almost as if to say, Lionel Messi, over to you now. And Messi is going to get his chance to prove what he's worth tonight once again against Iceland in Argentina's first game of the World Cup. Hi, good afternoon, this is Suyash, and I'm going to be previewing Iceland versus Argentina, the biggest game of the day. Arguably, some French fans might want to contest that and say, well, we're playing Australia today, and that's arguably a bigger game. But hey, it was 0-0 at halftime, and as I'm speaking right now, it's still 0-0 with about 53 minutes gone. Who knows who's going to take this match now? I actually pick Australia to do well from this point, because they've been very organized against France. But more on that later. By the time this video comes out, you would have already probably know the result of that match. But moving on now to Argentina versus Iceland. Wow, what a story for Iceland. They went far in the last edition of the Euros, upset England in the knockout stages, and now playing in their first ever World Cup, the smallest country to ever qualify for a FIFA World Cup. On the other hand, you have giants like Argentina, who last won the World Cup in 1986 when Diego Maradona was at the peak of his powers. Well, we have someone else who is arguably stepped into Maradona's shoes. His name is Lionel Messi, and has some people might argue has gone on to supersede Maradona as the greatest player that Argentina has ever produced. Well, he's never won a World Cup. Now, I, for one, am not to buy this argument that because Lionel Messi has never won the World Cup, that he can't be considered as the greatest player in the world. I think he's proven it time and time again that he is among the greatest players in the world. Cristiano Ronaldo, again, of course, fantastic player. Both of them are on par, and it's an argument that's repeated so many times about who's better, Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. Guys, just enjoy them both, okay? Really, both are unique in their own ways. Both produce time and time again. Both step up when the time is needed. Messi did it in the last edition of the World Cup when Argentina was drawing 0-0 against Iran up till the 90th minute, and out of nowhere just cuts back onto his left, rifles the shot into the top corner, goal, 1-0 to Argentina. That's the kind of moment that might be required to break down Iceland today, because Iceland are determined. They're a determined bunch. They want to do well in this World Cup. They know how to approach the big games. They've gone far in the Euros. They know how to play a big game. So it's going to be tough for Argentina. But again, I did say it was going to be tough for Spain last night. It was more than tough for Spain and for Portugal. In fact, 3-3 was the result last night. I had predicted a narrow 1-0 win for Spain. So you'd be forgiven if you don't take me seriously when I'm predicting the result of the Argentina versus Iceland match. But hey, jokes apart, it's going to be a tight match. Now, Argentina are going to line up with their three usual midfielders, but there's going to be a few new faces in this team now. But I'll start off with the starting lineup now, because Coach Jorge Sampaoli has actually gone ahead and named his starting lineup one day in advance. Now, most managers don't do that. Most managers prefer to keep the information to themselves and then reveal it at the last moment. But because he shared it with the world, I'm sharing it with you here right now. So Argentina are going to be starting with Willy Caballero in goal. We're going to have Eduardo Salvio, Nicolas Otamendi, Marcos Rojo, the Man United defender, and Nicolas Tagliafico at left back. Again, as I told you, a couple of new names and new faces established themselves in their respective clubs in Europe, but again, haven't played a tournament like the World Cup before, so will be interesting to see how they get on. I don't think it'll be a big task for them or a challenge for them, because Argentina are a pedigreed side. Now, they have experienced coaches, they have an experienced setup around them, and I'm sure, a little arm around the shoulder by Lionel Messi to a newcomer would go a far way in improving their confidence ahead of the tournament, and I'm sure that's exactly what he would have done, because it's the same thing that Thierry Henry did with him when he was playing for Barcelona. As Messi has gone on to say earlier, that he was surrounded by a lot of mentors when he was growing up in his formative years, to put him in the right sort of mental state to be able to perform week in, week out now. Going ahead of the defense, we have the midfield now, which consists of Lucas Biglia, Javier Mascherano, and Maximiliano Meza. Meza, again, a new name, but has been doing very, very well for his club. And up top, we'll have Lionel Messi, Angel Di Maria and Sergio Aguero. Star-studded attack. Now, some people might be happy to see Gonzalo Higuain out of the starting lineup because the joke is that Lionel Messi has arguably been denied the World Cup by Gonzalo Higuain. Of course, some terrible misses in the World Cup final of 2014 against Germany, and then Mario Götze, of course, pops up with that late winner that nobody can do anything about. Lionel Messi has been asked whether this is going to be his last World Cup, and he's been cryptic about it. Messi has been known to not exactly be happy with the results of his national team. In fact, after the Copa America, when they lost the final again to Chile, he was so disappointed that he did say that it might be the last time I've played for Argentina. He even announced his retirement. Of course, it's a different matter that he came back from retirement to play for Argentina once again, but all said and done, he's been cryptic. He said, let's see how far we go in this tournament, and then I'll take a call on whether I'm going to play another World Cup or not, or rather represent the national team again or not. I feel it's a bit of a pity that a player as big as Lionel Messi does go on record and say this, because he's got so many years of football left in him. As I say that now, it seems that France has taken the lead against Australia, much to the delight of Didier Deschamps. They're just fist pumping to the crowd, just relief on his face that France have finally taken the lead. But yeah, that seems to be a match that's going in a predictable direction now. Now that France has taken the lead, expect them to consolidate and just keep the ball. But again, it's the World Cup. No one knows what the final outcome is till the 90 minutes are over. But again, stepping aside from that game, as France is on the attack again, I'm very distracted right now, but I'll be concentrating on this now. Sure. So that's Argentina for you, and that's Messi for you, where we've discussed the whole thing. But Iceland could be one of the stories of the tournament, and the big question is, can they actually continue the fine run of form that they've had in qualification and the kind of form that they showed in the Euros? Of course, the Indian national team has been playing a lot of games recently. If you've been observing, if you've been following, then they beat Kenya in the final of the Intercontinental Cup that happened in Bombay. And what was characteristic of that tournament was just those Viking claps that the whole Indian crowd used to do with the Indian team. Of course, that's a borrowed celebration from Iceland, because Iceland did this quite famously in the Euros, and it's become a popular celebration all across the world. It'll be interesting to see if they do that again. Draw, win or lose, that's typical of Iceland. They always do that. So they're going to be adding a little bit of fun, a little bit of flair to this World Cup, but I'm sure their players are going to be telling themselves, hey, we're not just here to make up the numbers, we're here to compete, and we're here to do well against established teams. The player to watch out for, arguably, for Iceland will be Gylfi Sigurdsson, the Premier League star. Sigurdsson is the one who controls their midfield, who pings the ball wide, and then so that Iceland wingers can cross the ball. And that's the exact strategy that Iceland is expected to adopt again. Be narrow, try and be hard to beat, because again, what can you do if Messi pops up with another moment of magic? You can't really plan for players like Lionel Messi, especially if you're Iceland, and especially if you're playing in your first World Cup ever. Remember, the smallest country to ever qualify for a World Cup. But enough of that. Now I'm going to read out a few interesting facts before the game, like I usually do, so that you have a bit of a context heading into the game. Now, this will be the first ever encounter between Argentina and Iceland. Argentina have lost just one of their last 7 World Cup group games against European opposition. They've won 4, drawn 2, but the only defeat came at the hands of England in 2002 in Japan and South Korea, when the Asian countries, of course, hosted the World Cup. A bit of a cause for concern for Argentina would be their qualifying campaign, because even the last 2 games, practice games, one of them against Israel was cancelled due to political reasons, and only Bolivia scored fewer goals than Argentina in the CONMEBOL qualifiers, with Uruguay's Edinson Cavani actually scoring more than Lionel Messi. Cavani scored 10 goals and Messi scored 7 goals in that tournament. So they're not exactly in good form running up to the tournament, but again, it's Iceland, and one expects them to overcome Iceland. Iceland, on the other hand, we have facts which say Gylfi Sigurdsson was top scorer and joint appearance maker for Iceland in the qualifiers for Russia 2018, which again goes on to signify how much of an important player he's going to be in the match coming up. Iceland have qualified for their first World Cup and their second major tournament after Euro 2016, where they reached the quarterfinals. Slovakia were the last World Cup debutants to make it to the knockout stages of the tournament in 2010 in South Africa. Now, that Slovakia team had stars like Marek Hamšík and Martin Skrtel of Liverpool. Can Iceland be the new Slovakia? Only time will tell when we tune in to Iceland versus Argentina tonight. See you guys tomorrow.